Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. Hope you're not too hungover after the St. Patrick's Day celebrations. We're diving in. Let's take a look at they're live now, the Titan event and the Path of the Clover. We're going to be doing, of course, our traditional full path breakdown. First of all, let's look at the Titan event because I think it's actually pretty straightforward, honestly. So this is up for 2 weeks. I was a small bit surprised it started during the fusion, but it doesn't make a big difference, really, that much. Yeah, if we look at this stuff, right, you've got effectively one level of the soul for Armans on each one of the milestones. So 1 star, 2, etc., etc. I would say, again, you know, it's sort of a typical event. There's some nice little rewards sprinkled in there that are going to be kind of nice, but pretty simple. Which level soul does Armans want, and what content does Armans focus on? Armans, in my opinion, he only really needs the soul for Arena, right? And he is very good for Arena. So, long story short, if you are a player with lots of resources and who cares about Arena, then you want the 5-star soul. Why? Because you probably want to run him in Polymorph. Possibly, you know, again, if there are Polymorph nerfs in the future, you might still just run him in Polymorph anyway, because it does interact with his passive. But yeah, he'd be very strong in Polymorph, and at 5-star, you get a 15% chance for the sheep, and you get 75 bonus accuracy, which is really good because he is a champion that wants lots of accuracy. If, you know, Polymorph ever gets nerfed, he'd still be really good in, let's say, Temporal Chains. It'd still be very strong, which is decreasing enemy speed for every active buff. That's really, really good. Now, as you can see, though, the lower levels aren't that important, like crit damage. Does Armans need crit damage? No. So the 4-star soul's not that strong. At 3-star, it makes the blessing a bit more powerful, gives some defense. Like, that's kind of nice. Attack is not really important. The 1-star is fine. Like, he's really kind of about the 5-star in Arena. So I would say, again, if you care about Arena and you've got lots of resources, then you want to try max this out, basically, and get the 5-star soul. And that's going to be tough. You're going to need to do almost everything. It's going to be a very, very big commitment. Yes, they're pretty nice rewards along the way. And yes, that's going to help you a ton in Arena. It's going to be very powerful, but it is a big commitment. If you do not have a ton of resources and or you don't care that much about, you know, min-maxing in Arena and all of that stuff, totally fine. Just like even just grabbing the 1-star just incidentally from doing stuff, it doesn't even matter, right? You can come in and go, you know what, screw it. I don't really care about the Arman soul that much. It's way too expensive, or I just don't really care. Then you can skip this. And I think that's the way to do it. I think you either go for all or nothing, really. And honestly, even if you go for nothing, just by doing events that happen to be on, like you're going to pick up probably at least the 2-star anyway. Like the 3, you might even stumble into a 3-star. I think it's pretty possible. And then there's some nifty rewards, like the superior oil and extract in here are kind of nice, right? So maybe you'll do a little bit extra for some of these rewards, but it's really not important. It's really very much optional. You don't need to plan ahead, and you can just sort of stumble across things as they go, and that's going to be fine. So I think you got the chill way to do it, which is that, or you're going to have to be real hardcore and do nearly everything. And you will get an avatar as well, which is fun. I like that. But yeah, the 5-star soul is really quite a big power jump. You could always just get the 4-star and buy the 5-star, but you're very, very limited, obviously, in how many 5 and 6-star souls you can buy. And that's where, let's be real, that's where probably a big, big, big chunk of the power is these days now for souls in Arena with how they've changed them. So yeah, we've got that. Right, let's look at the Path of the Clover. So this is up for 4 days. And of course, we talked about the progressive chance events that are going to be on during this as well. You do get points, interestingly, from, hang on, I actually did a little mock-up of this yesterday, and this has actually changed a little bit, so hang on. Yeah, so these were like old figures, which are actually not true anymore. They're mostly right, though. This was from maybe, was it from Alatreon? I can't remember what these were for, but for your soul stones, right? Mortals are 100 points, Immortals 1,500, and Eternal 7,500. So if you got lots of big soul stones, I actually do happen to have lots of big ones because we kind of maxed out, but then stopped in the first ever 2x soul stones event, and then I've just been saving like crazy. Apart from that, so I actually have got a pretty big chunk of these just from saving, which is cool. Now, the shards are actually a little bit different from what I have in my notes, right? Mysteries were 9, Ancients 180, Voids 1100, and Sacreds 4500. So the Sacreds are still the same. Mysteries are nerfed down to 3 from 9. Voids are worse from 1100 to 750, but now there's Primals in there for 1800, and Ancients are a bit better at 300. So I'll have to work it out exactly which of these is good. I'm not entirely sure. We're going to do a shard pulling video later on. But I guess let's go in. What we should do is work out how many points we need first. And then we can see like, oh, how many ancient shards on their own would it take to max out the path, etc., etc. So let's actually break down the path first. And then we'll do some like quick maths, just like divide it up by the shards and see. So here we are. Let me actually make this like full screen. I'm not actually very good with Photoshop. So I don't know any of the shortcuts and click everything like a noob. But here we go. This is the full path. And what we can see in the full path is, well, there's obviously this central one, which is not hard to get to, right? You grab 500 points for this silver, you get an XP boost, and bam, you're down here. But you can grab a bunch of brews if you want, and a portrait. That's nice. Or you can, with a key, unlock the left-hand path, which has a legendary tome, and then 60,000 points for a guaranteed champion. Or you can go down the right-hand side with the key for a legendary tome and the 5-star perfect soul. So yeah, that's what's going on there. How do we get the keys? Well, you got to go down the other side. So you can either go down, and they're almost identical. The left-hand side, right? I mean, energy and gems are sort of flipped on each, but it's not a particularly big deal. You've got the different dust or powder and dust, I think. I don't know. You got those. It's not a big deal. They're sort of optional on the sides, right? But yeah, other than that, they're mostly mirrors of each other, you know, like a chicken versus a barrel. On the left-hand side, you do have fragments for the champion before the key. On the right-hand side, you've got the key before the champion. So if you only care about the key, the right-hand side is slightly cheaper. Not by much, but, I mean, you'll save yourself 4,000 points, which can be a chunk of shards. I mean, it's a sacred shard worth of points, really. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. So the paths we've got here. Green, this is the path to get the champion as quickly as possible. So for green, you have to come down the right-hand side first to grab yourself the key. And then you have to come down the middle, use your key to unlock it, and grab the champion. And that will cost you, it's 21,000 or so to do the right-hand part. Then it's 73,000 or so to do the actual champion with the key, for a total of 94,750 points, which is honestly around about where I was sort of expecting. I was kind of expecting it would probably be about 90,000. So it is very expensive for sure, but you get a very, very good champion out of it. Like I said in the video yesterday, Grand Oak Podrick, he's certainly, I think without question, the third best, I think, ally attack champion in the game, behind the mythical Lady Mikage, and then probably the Void Cardial. I'd say they're probably both are probably better overall, but he's definitely, I think, the next best thing. And ally attack champions are really good, and certainly for things like Fire Knight, you kind of want to have 2 really good ally attack champions, so him being the third best. And he also brings increased speed, which could be very strong utility for that, you know, so he might even be the second best, or potentially the first best, depending on your team comp for that dungeon. So yeah, there we go. Anyway, look, it's 94,750 points. Now, to get then the soul, on top of that, what I've done is I just added in orange path here. So this is sort of picking up where we left off. Obviously, if you want to add in just the soul, it's actually not much different. Add 3,500 points on. I'm sort of expecting that we've already gone down that middle chunk. But look, you go down the left-hand path. It's a bit more expensive this time because you do have to get the epic fragments. But you do that and you get the key. And by the way, you have to go pretty deep down each of these paths, right, to get the Titan event points. So that's a thing. That is a thing. And it might be worth doing because there are certainly going to be other summoning events. I don't know. There's something to consider. There's certainly going to be other summoning events during this Titan event that are going to have a ton of points as well. So definitely beware of skipping lots. Like if we skip this left-hand path entirely, we've just skipped 100 points. You're starting to dig into how many points you can skip for the Titan event if you're going for the 5-star Armand Soul. So So yeah, certainly with your soul stones, I think soul stones are very unlikely to show up in further events for this Titan event. So you're pretty safe to use your soul stones to try to get these and save your shards for like future stuff. Anyway, that's what's going on. Then you've got over here, we've got this. Again, if you wanted to add in the middle path, it'd be a little bit extra. But orange, a bit more expensive, 4,000 more actually, 25,000 points. On the left-hand side, 60,000. Then it's a bit cheaper to get the soul for a total of 85,000. So look, if you want to get both of them, again, we should say, if you're not doing green, if you're only doing orange, which is an interesting idea, I suppose, saying, look, I want to get the 5-star perfect soul, and then I'll hope to pull the champion at some point. That seems to me to be a weirdly risky Kraken type thing to do, but maybe I wouldn't do it. I would definitely go for the champion first for 95% of you. That's definitely the play. Maybe there's some Kraken out there that's like, I hate buying soul stones, so I'm never going to get this soul again, but I love buying shards. So there's a decent chance I get the champion. I don't know. It's something to consider. Something with a weird situation that could happen. It would be what, 80, like 88,700 or something if you included this green chunk there. So yeah, to get them both, you're looking about 180,000 points, which is a huge amount. And then just for fun, we did throw in, you've got like this chunk at the bottom here. You've also got, I put these other bits I've not circled, which I think are pretty reasonable bits to get. These are like, oh, you might very reasonably dip in a few extra points to grab some dust or to grab the extra fragments. The white section down here is the really very optional stuff. I'm calling this sort of the Kraken zone, really, where you've got obviously brews that go into a portrait. And then obviously from the bottom, from going past the key or these fragments here, there are 2 mythical tomes and a feast up for grabs. Now, personally, I would not recommend the feast at all. The feast is uber Kraken zone. The mythical skill tomes are much more useful and much more rare than the feast. So you might go for those. But again, they're very expensive. And I would certainly be prioritizing a whole new champion for sure over mythical tomes. So look, that's the white zone is really the uber Kraken zone, the super optional stuff for fun, which is 85,000 points. It's a ton of points as well. So that's like what we've got going on here for this path. And obviously these are not all the points. It's almost all of the points. And then a few thousand extra. But it's a lot. So like if we go and we work it out, let's work this out. So let's say we want to get 94,000. Let's say we want to do it with just sacred shards. Let's clear all this. So we've got 94,000, like 750. Then we divide that by sacred shards. You're looking at like 21, roughly, sacred shards to get the guaranteed champion, which is around about what we expect, I'll say. It's around about what we expect. These days, it's 20 sacred seems to be the new standard. And I certainly think he's very, very good. So yeah, okay, 20 sacreds. Like I said, about 90,000 points is what I was expecting. We're slightly, yeah, we are that 1.05 of a champion higher, or 1.05 of a sacred higher in points than I expected, but pretty darn close. And yeah, if we wanted to get, let's just round it up to 95,000 plus, say, 85,000. So if we're going for 180k, if we're going for the champion and the soul, and we divide that just by sacreds, we'd be looking at 40 sacred shards. Almost on the dot, actually on the dot, to get the champion and his soul. So that's something, right? So heck of a lot of sacred shards. I've got not that many. I have 13. So yeah, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna like go in and work out with my soul stones and stuff where we would be at. I just want to quickly, let's just work out your getting the champion value. So let's say the 94,750. If we divide that by, it was 300 points for an ancient. It'll be, as you can see, 316 ancient shards. So it's doable. You might have 300 ancients saved up. That's possible to do, but it basically all of them. It's not very efficient. So yeah, the ancients are fairly weak for doing this. Let's see, the 94,750 divided by, what was it, 750 for a void. You're looking at 126 void shards. Again, that's the typical cost for a guaranteed void legendary. I would say he's probably, he's probably better than many of the guaranteed void legendaries we've had, to be fair. But that's a monstrous ton of void shards. That would probably be the most effective way to do this with money, by the way. Like if you've got nothing and you want to buy your way into this, probably Void Shards would be the most effective way to go. And you've got Grazor Iron Gut on today, so it's certainly, probably, almost definitely the most effective way to go. Then 94,750 divided by, what was it, 1,800, I think, for the Ancients? Or not the Ancients, for the Primals? I think it was. Yeah, it is. So that would be, in terms of Primals, you're looking at 53 Primal Shards. Yeah, I'm curious if we do it in terms of Eternal Soul Stones. Done one extra number there. Eternal Soul Stones are going to be 12.6. I mean, who has 12.6 Eternal Soul Stones lying around? You probably don't, but for me, I've got 3 Eternals. Like, 3 Eternals is going to be worth, what, like approximately 5 Sacred Shards or something like that? So it's kind of, it's going to help me reduce the shard cost because, yeah, 20 Sacreds for the champion. I don't have 20 Sacreds. But I do have Soul Stones, so I'm going to probably pull all of my Soul Stones and then fill in with shards. I'll work that out. That'll be a whole separate video, but hey, this is the breakdown for this one. This is how it is looking. So yeah, I think I would highly recommend using your souls to do this, Soul Stones. I think he's a great champion, so it's a solid guaranteed. It's on the expected pricey end of it, but Podrick, he's a solid guaranteed. The soul is almost as expensive as getting the champion. I don't think that's anywhere near as important. Yes, Phantom Touch is nice for Fire Knight, but personally, I'd probably not bother, I don't think, doing that. And then you've got, obviously, all these mythicals and stuff at the bottom. Like, to be honest, for me, I actually do need fragments. So for me, it's going to be like basically 100,000 points. Because I do need 25 fragments for the guy, I'm pretty sure. What I might do, actually, is just come in and, yeah, I might do the green path, but then, if I got extra points for whatever reason, I could come down and grab, like, a mythical tome. Might be what I might actually do. Yeah, actually, real quick, let me work out, like, what you would have to do to get just the points and just the fragments. Hang on. Okay, I'm actually glad I worked this out, because it was actually a little bit more obtainable than I thought. But if you just want the Titan path, the Titan points, right? This is the Arman Soul or nothing. I don't care. I couldn't care less about anything else. I just want the Arman Soul. It's actually fairly cheap, right? To just get the points for the Titan event is only 22,500 points total. So it's about, what, 5 Sacreds and you're good. Yeah, 5 Sacreds and you're done, which is very easy. And you're sitting pretty, right, for the rest of the Titan event, or at least you've started as well as you can, so that's not so bad. Now, unfortunately, if you are in the, I only care about the Kafru fragments, it gets a bit more awkward if you're going, okay, I skipped, 2 other events during this fusion, I really need both the fragments. It's going to cost you 49,500 points. And yeah, then you're in a bit of an awkward spot where, if you are grabbing both of these fragments, to then go and get the champion is still another, 75,000. It gets really expensive. I don't know. Maybe you go grab a couple of mythical tomes or something instead, or maybe you just stop. But that's quite expensive. Like, in terms of sacreds, you're looking at, you're looking at about 10, 11. You're looking at 11 sacreds to do that. I can't remember exactly how the summon rush broke down, but maybe it's somewhat similar. But it does leave you, I think, in a fairly awkward spot where you kind of put in, like, I think if you only need 25 fragments, this is much easier because you can, like, cut out almost half of the cost by chopping off this side of the path, and then you could dedicate your extra points towards an actual champion, which is pretty big, right? If we're talking about a fusion versus, it's a legendary versus a legendary. It's pretty big. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Which path are you doing? Like I said, for me, I am probably going to personally be doing, I think, the green path. Yeah, I think I'm going green. I'm going to go get Podrick. That's going to be pretty cool. Right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed. Maybe we even pull the soul for him while pulling the soul stones. I don't know. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.